I've worn a badge for 15 years now. They say the job makes you hard, changes your heart a little every time you have to knock on a door with bad news or chase a man down a dark alley knowing he might be the one not to stop. But they don't tell you what happens when the darkness finds its way into your own home. My name's Carter, Officer Carter Dale, small-town police in Franklin, Kentucky. Nothing too fancy. We're not a big department, just 6 officers and a part-time desk clerk named Ruth who brings donuts every Monday like clockwork. Life was routine. Wake up, uniform on, coffee in hand by 6:15, patrol till evening, and come back to my wife, Jenna. Jenna. My world. She was always a little bit of a firecracker, bright smile, hair that curled at the ends like it had a mind of its own, and that laugh, the kind that could fill a room. We'd been married for 7 years. Not perfect, but we had love. Or I thought we did. Everything changed after the fall. It was a rainy Thursday. I remember it because my boots left muddy tracks through the station and Ruth gave me a glare sharp enough to peel paint. I had just wrapped up a case with a drunk driver crashing into a mailbox when my phone rang. It was Jenna, her voice ragged and panicked. She'd slipped on the stairs carrying laundry and couldn't move her leg. I sped home. Found her crumpled near the bottom step, eyes glistening with pain. I carried her to the truck myself, drove her to the ER with my hand never leaving hers. She squeezed it so hard it turned red. The doctor said her femur was fractured, badly. Surgery, then 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. Bed rest, painkillers, therapy. She would need help. A lot of it. I tried to take time off. But our department was short, and my captain, Pete, was under pressure. I could take a few days, not weeks. We compromised. I'd work the early shift, be home by 3, and in the meantime. That's where the neighbor came in. Kyle Miller. 32. Divorced. Worked from home doing something online, design maybe, or consulting, I never asked much. Seemed decent. Mowed his lawn like clockwork, helped carry groceries once or twice. His house backed up to ours. Jenna had chatted with him a few times during summer barbecues. She said he was polite. I didn't think much of it. I asked him for help. Just check on her during the day, bring her lunch, make sure she took her meds, maybe help her move around a bit. He agreed. Said it was no trouble. Even smiled and patted my shoulder like a buddy would. For a while, it worked. I'd get home and Jenna would be sitting up in bed, or resting on the couch. She said Kyle was kind, respectful, that he even brought her books from the library and helped clean. I thanked him more than once. I was grateful. But something started gnawing at me. She got strange. Her eyes wandered more when I talked. She didn't laugh as much. One night I brought home her favorite Chinese takeout, and she barely touched it. Said she was full. I noticed Kyle's car had left just 10 minutes before. Still, I pushed the thought away. Told myself I was being paranoid. That the job was warping my brain. You see the worst in people long enough, and you start imagining it everywhere. But then I found the towel. I picked it up like it was a snake and stared at it for a long time. My mind tried to make excuses, maybe Kyle spilled something, maybe he washed his hands and dried them off, but then I caught the scent again. It wasn't just cologne. It was sweat. Skin. Sex. I stood there holding that damp towel with Jenna just a few feet away in the bedroom, propped up with pillows, watching a cooking show on low volume. She called out when she heard me step into the hallway. "You okay, babe?" "Yeah," I answered, quickly folding the towel and stuffing it into the laundry basket. "Just checking the thermostat. It's warm in here." She nodded, barely glancing at me. I looked at her closer. Her hair was brushed, fresh lipstick faint on her mouth. She hadn't worn lipstick for me since before the accident. something was happening. I felt it in my gut, cop instinct, husband instinct, both. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed and watched her sleep. Or at least I thought she was sleeping. Her back was to me, one arm curled beneath her head, her body oddly still. Too still. As if she were pretending. The next day, I stopped by home during my lunch break. I didn't tell her. I parked a block away and walked. Quiet. Careful. Kyle's car was in the driveway. I crept around the side of the house, taking the long way through the trees to the back window of the living room. Curtains were mostly drawn, but not all the way. Just enough for a sliver of daylight to spill through. I saw him first. Kyle. Shirtless. Kneeling on the floor next to the couch. Her legs were draped over his shoulder. And Jenna, my wife, was leaned back against the cushions, eyes half shut, biting her lip. Not fighting. Not pushing him away. Not crying for help. Enjoying it. It felt like someone poured acid straight through my chest. My fists clenched so tight I thought I might break my own fingers. My badge sat heavy in my pocket like an insult. I should have kicked the door in. Dragged him out. But I didn't. I walked back to my car, every step heavier than the last. That night, I didn't say a word. Neither did she. We ate dinner in silence. She didn't notice the way I watched her every move. The guilt wasn't there. She wasn't ashamed. Maybe she thought I didn't know. The next morning, I confronted Kyle. I caught him as he was jogging past our house like nothing happened, like we weren't both living in the same lie. Got a minute? I asked, stepping onto the porch. He slowed down, wiping sweat off his face with the back of his arm. Sure, what's up? I know, I said flatly. He blinked. Know what? Don't play dumb, Kyle. I saw you. Yesterday. In my house. With my wife. He held up his hands, the fake shock rolling off him like bad theater. Hey man, it's not what you think. Don't insult me. Just answer this, did she say no? Did she ever tell you to stop? That caught him. For a moment, his face changed. Something flickered in his eyes. She didn't say no, he said slowly. She didn't say yes either. At first. But then. I think she liked it. I mean, she wanted something different, right? You're always gone. She's lonely. You left her alone with me. What did you think would happen? I took a step forward. I wanted to hit him so badly my hands trembled. But I didn't. I stared at him long and hard and said, stay away from her. From my house. You step 1 foot near that door again, I said, voice low, calm, dead serious, and I'll bury you so deep even the worms won't find you. Kyle smirked at first, like he didn't believe me. But I could see the way his jaw tensed. The badge on my hip wasn't just decoration, and he knew it. Yeah, he finally muttered, backing away, sure, Officer Dale. He jogged off down the sidewalk, and I stood there watching him shrink into the distance, fists tight at my sides. My heart was pounding, not from fear. From fury. The kind that simmers slow and deep, the kind that doesn't go away with a punch or a shout. That day, I worked my shift in a fog. Calls came in, routine stuff. A fender bender. A noise complaint. One guy got his trailer stolen and cried about it like someone ran off with his dog. I did my job, I wrote reports, I smiled for the public. But inside, I was boiling. When I got home, Jenna was in the kitchen. She had moved better lately, painkillers, physical therapy, or maybe adrenaline from her little secret sessions with Kyle. She was moving almost like normal now, and she hadn't mentioned her recovery in a while. I guess he was a good enough distraction from her pain. I walked in and she didn't look up from the soup she was stirring. "Hey," she said casually. "Hey." I put my keys down. "You need help with anything?" "Nope," she said. "Kyle already brought groceries earlier." I froze. "What?" She looked up, blinking. "He just dropped them off at the door, relax." So much for staying away. That night, I barely touched dinner. She chatted about something on TV. I didn't listen. I kept thinking about that smirk on Kyle's face, about how she hadn't denied it. She hadn't said sorry. Hadn't even shown a sliver of regret. It hit me then, this wasn't just cheating. She let him do it. At first, maybe she didn't. Maybe she was hesitant. But something inside her broke, or changed. Maybe it was curiosity. Boredom. Maybe I'd been gone too much, too often. But no matter what it wasn't an accident. It was a choice. I started watching her closely after that. She smiled more when she got text messages. She'd lock her phone when I entered the room. One night, I walked in without knocking and found her sitting in the dark with a photo pulled up on her screen. I didn't see it clearly, but I saw his name at the top. Kyle. She locked it fast and looked up at me, startled. "Can I have some privacy, Carter?" That was rich, privacy. The next week, I came home early again. Quiet. She wasn't in bed, or on the couch. I checked the porch. Her slippers were gone. So was she. I checked the neighbor's house. Empty. I called her. Straight to voicemail. Hours passed. Finally, at 1:12 a.m., I got a message. "I'm sorry. I couldn't live that lie anymore. I'm with Kyle. Don't come looking for me. This is goodbye. Goodbye." Like she was ending a vacation. Like 7 years of marriage could be tied up in a single text. I stared at the message until the words blurred. I read it over and over until rage swallowed whatever sorrow was left in me. She ran away with the man who violated her trust, our trust, and she liked it. She left behind her wedding ring, her vows, her promises, all because it was new. Different. Maybe exciting. But I'm not the kind of man you run from. I'm the kind of man who finds you. And I did. It didn't take long. You spend enough time chasing runaways, tracking missing persons, and digging through dirtbag secrets, you learn where to look. Kyle wasn't exactly slick. His online footprint was wide and sloppy: Venmo payments, tagged locations, hotel reward points. The first place I checked was an old Airbnb cabin near Lake Barkley. It was under a fake name, but the reservation was paid with Kyle's backup card. They booked 3 nights. I drove up without sirens, no flashing lights, just a quiet, unmarked cruiser and a bag of clothes in the trunk, just in case they ran. The cabin was nice. Too nice. A couple's hideaway. Warm glow in the windows, string lights on the porch. As I pulled up the gravel drive, I caught a glimpse through the front window. There they were. Sitting close on a love seat. Her head rested on his shoulder, and he was laughing at something she whispered. She looked happy. Loose. Comfortable. Like she'd never even heard my name. I sat there for a long time, engine off, watching through the glass like a ghost at his own funeral. I could have stormed in. Dragged her out. Slapped cuffs on him for trespassing or coercion or something. But I didn't. Not yet. I backed out slowly. Quietly. Because revenge, real revenge, doesn't scream. It whispers. It waits. Over the next 2 days, I gathered what I needed. Photos. Copies of texts. Hotel receipts. Her goodbye message. Everything. I printed them and placed them in an envelope. I mailed it to her parents. Her sister. Her best friend. Anyone who ever called her loyal, or sweet, or the perfect wife. I didn't include a note. I didn't have to. The evidence spoke loud enough. Then I got smart. I tapped into Kyle's digital habits. Got a buddy in IT at the station to help me with some low-key surveillance. We tracked login locations, calendar events, even a shared grocery list app they used like newlyweds. That's how I learned they were heading to Nashville the next weekend, some fancy downtown apartment Kyle rented short-term. This time, I wasn't just going to watch. I booked a room across the street. Top floor. Binoculars. Camera. I recorded everything. Them walking hand in hand into the elevator. Them dancing barefoot in the living room. Her in one of his shirts, laughing like she never broke a bone in her life, like she never broke a heart either. On the third day, I made my move. I followed Kyle one morning when he left to get coffee. Jenna stayed behind. He walked into a shop 2 blocks away. I walked in right behind him. He didn't see me until he turned around with his drink in hand. The cup dropped from his hand. "You," he said, backing up a step. "I told you not to come near her again," I said, voice low. "She came to me," he said, raising his palms. "She chose this. You think you're the victim? You left her alone. You made it easy." I stepped closer. "Maybe I did," I whispered. "But you made it permanent." Then I smiled. "Not the friendly kind. The kind you wear right before something breaks." "You like games, Kyle?" I said. He looked confused. Nervous. But I didn't hit him. Didn't shout. I just leaned in and whispered something he didn't expect. "I've already taken something from you." He frowned. "What?" "You'll see," I said, then walked away. He called Jenna in a panic the second I left. I knew, because I had bugged their apartment. Just enough to hear voices. Just enough to hear the moment when she realized it, too. That the past never forgets. That I was still watching. That I wasn't done. Now they were scared. And fear makes people sloppy. They'd run again soon, I could feel it. But the next time, I wouldn't just follow. I'd be waiting. Because when someone steals what's yours, your love, your life, your dignity, you don't just get mad. You get even. And I was just getting started. Jenna called me 2 nights later. It was late, past midnight, and I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. I let it ring twice before picking up. "Carter?" Her voice was soft. Hesitant. I didn't respond right away. I wanted her to squirm a little. "You there?" she asked again, quieter. "I'm here," I said. "Surprised you remembered my number." A pause. "Why are you doing this?" I smirked. "Doing what?" "You know exactly what," she said, sharper now. "The messages. The photos. The voice recorder in the apartment." I said nothing. Just let the silence chew at her. "You humiliated me," she snapped. "My parents won't even speak to me. My job put me on leave after someone anonymously forwarded them that file." "You humiliated yourself, Jenna," I said coldly. "You just didn't expect consequences." There was another long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Uneven. Angry. Afraid. "You said you loved me," she whispered. "I meant it," I said. "Before you handed yourself to my neighbor like a free sample at a supermarket." She didn't answer. And I didn't need her to. I hung up. Kyle tried to lawyer up. He must have felt the walls closing in, because a week after that phone call, I got served with a restraining order request. He claimed I was stalking him, harassing them both, planting illegal surveillance. I laughed when I read it. Because he didn't know what I knew. That the footage I'd collected, the texts, the recordings, the messages Jenna had sent me admitting the affair, all of it proved she wasn't coerced, wasn't a victim. If anything, she was the one who manipulated her way into a new life and called it freedom. I let the restraining order go through. Didn't fight it. Let him think he won something. Because I was already playing a longer game. My next move wasn't about anger, it was about control. Jenna had a joint savings account she never officially removed me from. Stupid mistake. She must have assumed I'd never touch it out of pride. But pride doesn't build revenge. Patience does. I drained it. Legally. Transferred every last cent to my own personal account and locked it up behind firewalls and contingencies. She called again 2 days later. This time screaming. You stole from me. No, I said, calmly eating dinner on my porch, I took what I was owed. That was my money. Our money. Remember that word? Ours? You gave up rights to ours, the day you ran off with the bastard who watched you limp around in a bathrobe. She choked on her own fury. You're sick. Maybe, I said. But I'm not broke. Click. Kyle cracked first. I expected Jenna to be the one to panic. But no, it was him. Maybe he thought she was a fling. Maybe he didn't think I'd keep coming. Either way, I saw it happening. He started acting twitchy, looking over his shoulder. He even called a buddy of mine at the precinct, asking if I had a history of mental instability. That buddy? He told me everything. I knew it was time. I paid a visit to Kyle's workplace, some startup office in a strip mall with more windows than brains. I didn't wear a uniform. Didn't need to. I walked straight to the front desk, dropped off a manila envelope with a receptionist, and left without a word. Inside the envelope? A full report. Photos. Voicemails. A list of every shady thing Kyle had done with timestamps and dates. Including some questionable behavior with another married woman from his past. That got him fired by Monday. And Jenna? She lost more than money. I'd filed for divorce the same week and served her in public, downtown, while she and Kyle stood in line at a boutique cafe like the world was theirs. The process server handed her the papers. Right in front of everyone. I watched from across the street as her face fell. She looked around, at the strangers watching, at Kyle standing frozen with his little foam latte in hand, and she knew that I wasn't chasing her anymore. I was erasing her. But it wasn't over yet. Because revenge, real revenge, doesn't end when they cry. It ends when they beg. And Jenna, she was close. Closer than she'd ever been. I thought I had broken them. Jenna lost her reputation. Her money. Her safety net. Kyle lost his job, his confidence, his grip on her. I watched from a distance as the cracks widened between them. There were arguments in parking lots, slammed doors at 2 a.m., and once, a plate thrown across the kitchen, caught it all on the security feed I planted in the vent behind the fridge during one of their grocery runs. They were unraveling. And it was beautiful. But then, just when I thought they'd fall apart completely, something shifted. They disappeared. One day they were there. The next, the apartment was empty. Mail stacking up. Phones turned off. No trace. Even their online footprints went cold. At first, I figured they were running scared. Kyle probably sensed something coming and convinced her to start over somewhere else, some small town where no one knew her name, where no one remembered she once married a cop. I wasn't too worried. I had people. Contacts. Tools most civilians don't even know exist. But a week passed. Then 2. Still nothing. No paper trail. No credit cards. No new leases. It was like they vanished off the map. Then, on the 23rd day, something strange happened. I came home from my shift. Long day. Domestic call turned bad. Bloody nose, screaming baby, broken furniture. I showered, cracked a beer, and went to grab my mail. Tucked between a bank notice and some discount tire coupons was a single white envelope. No return address. Handwritten. Just my name. Carter. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single photograph. It showed a woman standing in a sunlit field, wearing a simple white dress. Her back to the camera. Long hair blowing in the wind. It was Jenna. Next to her, holding her hand, was Kyle. Behind them, a farmhouse. Faded red paint. A tall windmill. A familiar landscape. I stared at it for a long time, heart pounding. Because I knew that place. It was my grandfather's old farm, abandoned for decades now, miles outside a dying town called White Bluff. My family sold it years ago. Or so I thought. I flipped the photo over. One sentence was written in clean block letters. Come see what we've built without you. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't bring backup. I drove out there alone the next morning, before the sun rose. The roads were cracked, overgrown. The mailbox still had our old name on it, Thorn. My hands trembled as I gripped the wheel, headlights catching the shape of that old windmill I used to climb as a kid. The front gate creaked open like it had been waiting for me. I parked behind a rusted-out pickup and walked up the gravel path. No lights in the windows. No sound. Then the door opened. And Jenna stepped out. She looked different. Not broken. Not afraid. Calm. Come inside, Jenna said, voice soft but sure. Let's talk. I didn't move. Behind her, through the doorway, I could see the dim outline of Kyle. He was leaning against the kitchen island, arms folded, a strange expression on his face, not smug, not afraid. Something worse. Patient. I'm not stepping one foot in there, I said. You already have, she replied. I reached toward my hip instinctively, feeling for the grip of my service weapon. But it wasn't there. I left it in the glove box before getting out of the cruiser, trying not to escalate a situation I thought I controlled. That was my mistake. You've been following us, Jenna continued. Spying. Digging. Destroying. I said nothing. She took a few steps closer. But while you were looking at us, Carter, you never stopped to ask yourself why I let you hand me over to a man like Kyle. I told myself it was because I trusted you, I said. She smiled. You trusted the idea of me. Not the person. Behind her, Kyle walked into the doorway and leaned against the frame. He was holding a mug. Calm as a preacher. You were obsessed with order, he said. With control. With being right. But you never paid attention to what she needed. She didn't need you, I snapped. No, Jenna said, I needed freedom. He just showed me where the door was. They stepped aside and let me see inside the house. The old walls were restored. The furniture was clean, rustic. Handmade. Every inch of it felt curated, like a museum, or a set. There was no chaos. No signs of dysfunction. This wasn't a hideout. It was a home. You don't get it, do you? Jenna said. You thought this was about betrayal. About sex. About punishment. But this, she gestured around the house, this is about starting over. Then why invite me? I asked, voice low. To show you what we built from the ashes you left behind. I shook my head. This is a fantasy. No, Kyle said. This is the result of your story ending, and ours beginning. That's when I noticed the security cameras. Small. Seamless. Tucked into corners, under eaves. All wired into a central hub on the living room wall. They had surveillance on me. I wonder how internal affairs would feel, Jenna said gently, if they saw how you used your badge. How you accessed private records. How you stalked a civilian couple across state lines. You're bluffing. She walked back toward the door and pulled something from a drawer. A flash drive. This has everything. All your little visits. The bank transfers. The listening device in our apartment. Even the conversation you had with your friend in IT. I stared at her. You didn't just run, I whispered. You planned this. Kyle shrugged. People who feel trapped usually do. They didn't call the cops. They didn't make threats. They let me walk out, empty, confused, and suddenly aware of just how exposed I'd become. But the real twist? The thing that chilled me deeper than anything else? As I got back in my cruiser, something caught my eye. Sticking out of the vent near the windshield was a folded note. Handwritten. I unfolded it with shaking hands. It read, "We don't want to ruin you, Carter. But if you ever come back, we will." And for the first time in months, I didn't feel angry. I felt fear. Because I didn't know who I had been married to anymore. And worse, I didn't know what they were capable of next. The drive back from the farmhouse was quiet. Too quiet. Not because the roads were empty, they weren't. But because the noise in my head had finally stopped. The anger. The plotting. The righteousness. In its place was something else. Uncertainty. For months I thought I was in control. That I was the one pulling strings, dealing out justice to the people who betrayed me. I'd acted like a cop even when I wasn't wearing the badge, gathering evidence, planning moves, enforcing my own version of the law. But walking out of that farmhouse, I felt like a suspect. Back in town, everything looked the same. Same blinking traffic lights. Same bakery with burnt coffee. Same neighbors who waved with plastic smiles. But I wasn't the same. I parked in the lot behind the station, not because I was on duty, but because I needed familiar ground. Somewhere solid beneath my boots. Somewhere I still belonged. Only, I didn't. Not completely. I could feel it in the way a couple officers glanced at me in the hall. Not hostile. Just different. Like I was carrying something they didn't want to get close to. I went to my desk, an old metal thing with a chipped corner and a drawer that jammed if you closed it too hard. Inside, I kept a flash drive of my own. Insurance. I plugged it into my laptop and brought up the folder marked Personal. Photos. Audio logs. Notes on Jenna. On Kyle. Time-stamped footage from their apartment, their grocery runs, even the day they left town. A full digital dossier. I stared at it for a long time. Then I clicked Select All and moved it to the recycle bin. Delete? Yes. That should have been the end. But 3 nights later, someone broke into my apartment. They didn't steal anything. Didn't break furniture or trash the place. They left something behind. On my kitchen table sat a single item, a wedding photo of Jenna and me. The frame was intact. The glass was clean. But her face had been cut out. And underneath the frame, written in tiny, perfect handwriting. You should have just let go. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room with the lights off, one hand resting on the grip of my service pistol, the other holding that photo. My eyes burned, not from tears, but from trying to make sense of what this had become. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was war. A quiet, psychological one. The kind where every move you make plays into theirs. The kind that makes you question if you started it, or if they did, and just let you think you were the one in control. The next day, I got a call. Private number. I almost didn't answer. Carter, a familiar voice said. Kyle. Calm. Measured. We need to talk. One last time. I didn't say anything. We didn't come here to destroy you, he went on. We came here to survive you. You call this surviving? There was a pause. You loved the idea of your life so much, you couldn't see the rot inside it. You thought keeping order meant locking people in place. You slept with my wife. No, he said. She left you long before I touched her. You just didn't notice. Another pause. I'm giving you one chance, Carter. Walk away. Disappear. Start over. Somewhere new. Because if you keep chasing us, it's not going to end with words or photos. My fist tightened around the phone. I'm not afraid of you, I growled. You should be, he said. Because she's not the woman you remember. And I'm not the man you think I am. Click. And now? Now I sit here with a decision. Do I let go? Or do I find out what he meant? When he said, it's not going to end with words. Because revenge is a fire, and maybe I didn't notice how far the smoke has spread. But I will. One way or another. I will. Even if I have to burn everything down to see the truth. Kyle told me to disappear. To let go. To walk away from the fire I lit myself. But I wasn't built to walk away from unfinished business. The night after his call, I sat alone in my apartment. The same photo still sat on my coffee table, Jenna's face cut out, a reminder of what they'd done and how far they'd gone to twist the knife. I stared at it for hours. Not drinking. Not pacing. Just waiting. I was waiting for the part of me that used to flinch to show up again. It never did. Whatever softness I'd had before, whatever patience, restraint, duty, I buried it beneath everything they took from me. This wasn't about love anymore. It wasn't even about betrayal. This was about power. And I finally understood, they didn't want to beat me. They wanted to rewrite me. Turn me into a ghost that knew what it lost but couldn't prove it. I went dark for 3 days. No calls. No badge. No trace. I drove south, past White Bluff, beyond the paved roads, until the GPS stopped working and the trees thickened like they were hiding something. I knew the area better than most. This was where my grandfather used to hunt when I was a kid. Back then, I was afraid of coyotes. Now I was hunting 2 predators of my own. I parked 2 miles out. Walked the rest of the way with night vision goggles and a suppressed pistol. Not for them, no, that would be too easy, but for any wildlife that thought I looked weak. The old farmhouse looked different this time. Lit up like a chapel. Inside, they were dancing. Literally dancing. Jenna in a white dress. Kyle with his sleeves rolled up. Like a wedding all over again. I watched them from the tree lean. Didn't move. Didn't blink. They weren't afraid of me anymore. They should have been. At 3 a.m., when the house finally went quiet, I made my move. Silent entry. Through the cellar door my granddad installed decades ago. I knew every board, every creak, every soft spot in the floor. I wasn't there to kill them. Not yet. Not unless I had to. I was there to turn the game around. Upstairs, I found Kyle sleeping on the couch. Jenna was in the back room, sprawled on a bed, arm hanging off the edge like she didn't have a care in the world. I did nothing to them that night. Instead, I planted 5 hidden cameras, 2 upstairs, 3 down. All synced to a feed only I could access. Then I left behind a note in Kyle's wallet. Just 5 words. You forgot who I am. Over the next 3 weeks, I learned everything. They were running low on cash. Jenna had a fake name, Melissa, apparently. Kyle was trying to sell his old truck. They were playing house, but the cracks were back. I heard the arguments. Saw the push-pull start all over again. One night, Jenna screamed, "You said we were safe here." Kyle yelled back, "I didn't know he was a damn ghost." Good. Let them feel it. Then I pulled the last thread. I called Jenna from a blocked number. Used a voice distorter. "Leave him," I said. "Go to the river bridge at 2 a.m. You'll know what to do." I didn't expect her to come. But she did. And that was the final confirmation I needed. I met her at the bridge. Not masked. Not distorted. Just me. She looked pale, shaken. Not afraid like before, confused. Uncertain. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "What do you want from me?" "You," I said. "To admit what you are." She looked away. "You already punished me." "No," I said. "I showed you the weight of your choices. But you never carried it. You don't understand. You liked what he did," I cut in. "You stayed because it made you feel alive. Because I made you feel safe, and he made you feel wild. But you never thought about the wreckage." She bit her lip, eyes brimming. "I did," she whispered. "Every night. Too late." I handed her a small envelope. Inside were photos. Not of her. Of Kyle. Alone. Texting. Meeting with a woman I didn't recognize. Then another. Then another. Her face drained of color. "You thought you had something real with him," I said. "But he was using you. He still is." She trembled. "You expect me to believe. I don't care what you believe. I just want you to know that I could have ruined him in 100 ways. And instead, I gave you the truth." She didn't speak. Just looked at me like the foundation beneath her had cracked. Then I walked away. 1 week later, Kyle was found beaten and tied to a tree, 30 miles from the farmhouse. Someone left a note pinned to his shirt. "Tell the truth next time." No fingerprints. No cameras. No charges. Jenna? Gone. Disappeared completely. Some say she left the country. Some say she changed her name again. But I like to think she's somewhere quiet, somewhere dark, watching shadows in every corner and wondering who's behind them. As for me, I transferred to a department 3 states over. Changed my number. Burned every photo I ever had of her. But I kept one thing. A single image from the camera feed. Jenna, sitting alone in the farmhouse a week before she left. Staring at the door. Waiting for Kyle to come home. Expression empty. Because for the first time in her life, she didn't know who was playing who anymore. And that? That was all the revenge I ever needed.